Most people never lose because they lack talent. They lose because they never win the battle against the morning. When the alarm rings at 5 a.m., two versions of you appear. One version whispers, sleep a little longer. Start tomorrow. You deserve comfort. The other version says, get up, build, move, become. And in that quiet moment, before the world wakes up, before messages, before noise, before excuses, you decide who you are becoming. The 5 a.m. mindset is not about waking up early to impress people. It is not about posting sunrise pictures or pretending to be productive. It is about learning to command your mind before life commands it for you. Because if you cannot control the first hour of your day, how will you control your future? Win the first battle of the day. At 5 a.m., there is no audience, no applause, no recognition, no one standing beside your bed cheering for you. There is only silence. And in that silence, a battle begins. The alarm sounds. And in that moment, life asks a question that most people never realize they are answering every single day. Who is in control? Your goals or your comfort? Because the first battle of the day is never physical. It is mental. Your body says stay. Your dreams say move. The bed feels warm. The room feels cold. Your mind begins negotiating. 5 more minutes. Tomorrow will be better. You worked hard yesterday. You deserve rest. But understand this. Those words sound harmless, yet repeated over months and years. They become chains. Success is rarely destroyed in one dramatic moment. It disappears quietly through small acts of surrender. One delayed alarm, one postponed workout, one missed promise to yourself. And eventually, you stop trusting yourself. This is why the 5 a.m. mindset matters. Not because waking early is magical, but because every morning becomes proof. Proof that your decisions are stronger than your emotions. Think about the warriors, the monks, the athletes, the builders of great lives. They understood something most people ignore. If you win the morning, you create momentum for the rest of the day. Imagine two people. One wakes when life pushes them. They grab their phone immediately. Messages, notifications, endless noise. Their mind becomes occupied before they have even stood up. Their day starts with reaction. The other wakes before the world demands anything. They sit in silence. They breathe. They move their body. They think clearly. They choose their direction before the world chooses for them. Same 24 hours. Different beginning. Different future. People often say they want confidence. But confidence is not created by motivational videos. Confidence is built when you repeatedly do what you said you would do. When you wake up at 5 a.m. after promising yourself you would. When you train even though nobody is watching. When you work while others delay. Every kept promise becomes evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. And self-trust changes everything. There was a time in many people's lives when they waited for motivation. They thought one day they would wake up feeling powerful, energized, unstoppable. But life teaches a harder lesson. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. The strongest mornings are often the ones you wanted the least. The mornings where your body feels heavy. The mornings where sleep pulls you back. The mornings where excuses sound intelligent. Those are the mornings that matter. Because every difficult morning is training. You are teaching your mind, I decide. Not my feelings, not my comfort, me. And once you develop that ability, it begins to spread into every part of life. You become the person who keeps commitments, the person who finishes what they start, the person who remains calm under pressure. Because discipline practiced in one area becomes strength everywhere. Think of a mountain climber. They do not conquer the mountain in one leap. They conquer one step, then another, then another. The 5 a.m. wake-up is that first step. Small, invisible, but powerful. Nobody sees it. Nobody celebrates it. Yet it changes everything. People will eventually notice your results. They will call you focused, driven, lucky. But they did not see the countless mornings where nobody was there except you and your decision. They did not see the battle. And understand this clearly. The goal is not perfection. You will have difficult days. You will miss mornings. You will fail sometimes. But the mindset remains. Return. Return to the promise. Return to the discipline. Return to the person you said you wanted to become. Because identity is built in repetition. Every morning you rise with intention. You cast a vote for your future self. Every morning you surrender. You cast a vote for staying the same. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings at 5 a.m., do not ask yourself if you feel ready. Do not ask whether it is comfortable. Ask only one question. Who do I become if I get up right now? Then stand. Place your feet on the floor. Take one breath and win the first battle. Because sometimes the entire direction of your life changes before sunrise. Build discipline before motivation. Most people are waiting to feel inspired, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for confidence, waiting for energy, waiting for life to suddenly give them a powerful feeling that makes everything easy. And while they wait, time moves. Days become months. Months become years. Dreams remain dreams. Because motivation is beautiful, but it is unreliable. Motivation arrives like weather. Some days it shines. Some days it disappears. If your life depends on motivation, your progress will always rise and fall with your emotions. But discipline stays. Discipline wakes up when motivation sleeps. Discipline works when excitement is gone. Discipline keeps moving even when nobody claps. This is the lesson hidden inside the 5 a.m. mindset. You do not wake up at 5 a.m. because you feel amazing. You wake up because you made a decision. And decisions repeated long enough become identity. Think about the people who achieve extraordinary things. From the outside, people often say, they are so motivated. But what they rarely see is the system behind the success. The athlete training before sunrise. The student studying after failure. The entrepreneur showing up after rejection. The creator producing work when inspiration disappears. What separates them is not endless motivation. It is discipline. And discipline is built in moments that feel ordinary. Imagine this. The alarm rings. Your body feels heavy. Your room is quiet. Your mind starts speaking. Not today. You need more sleep. You can start Monday. You already worked hard. Nothing changes if you miss one day. That voice sounds reasonable. That is why it is dangerous. Because comfort never announces itself as destruction. It disguises itself as permission. And every time you obey comfort instead of commitment, something invisible happens. You weaken your own word. You teach yourself that your promises are negotiable, that your goals can wait, that your future can be postponed. Now imagine the opposite. The alarm rings. You do not debate. You stand. Not because you feel strong, but because you already decided yesterday. That moment changes everything. Because discipline removes negotiation. You stop asking yourself whether you feel like it. You simply act. This is where freedom begins. People think discipline is restrictive, but discipline is freedom. Without discipline, emotions control your life. With discipline, your values control your life. Think of someone learning to play an instrument. The first days feel exciting. Then excitement fades. Practice becomes repetitive. Progress slows. That is where most people quit. But the one who continues eventually reaches mastery. Not because they loved every session, but because they respected the process. Life works the same way. You do not become stronger because of one powerful morning. You become stronger because you repeated difficult mornings. Again, and again, and again. The truth is, your future self is built by actions that feel insignificant today. One early wake-up, one workout, 1 hour of focused work, one decision to continue. Small actions, massive consequences. People underestimate consistency because results are invisible at first. But invisible does not mean ineffective. A seed planted underground looks like nothing, yet roots are growing. Preparation is happening. Transformation is happening. And one day, what seemed invisible becomes impossible to ignore. That is discipline. Quiet, uncelebrated, powerful. There is a story repeated in countless forms across life. Someone begins with excitement. They announce their goals. They imagine success. But after a few difficult mornings, they stop. Then someone else begins quietly. No announcements, no drama, just repeated action. Months later, the quiet person becomes unstoppable. Why? Because discipline compounds. Every day becomes easier to trust yourself. Every completed promise builds identity. Eventually, you stop seeing yourself as someone trying to improve. You become someone who does what must be done. That identity changes everything. Because once discipline becomes who you are, effort feels different. You no longer depend on emotions. You become stable, reliable, focused. And when difficult seasons arrive, and they always do, you do not collapse. You continue. That is real power, not intensity for 1 week, consistency for years. So stop waiting to feel motivated. Stop believing that success begins with excitement. Build discipline first. Create routines. Keep promises. Move when you do not want to. Train your mind to understand one simple truth. Feelings are temporary. Standards remain. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings at 5 a.m., your emotions will speak. Listen if you want, but do not obey. Stand up. Take action. Show yourself that your commitment is stronger than your comfort. Because the people who change their lives are rarely the most motivated. They are the ones who learn to move long after motivation disappeared. That creates space for deep thinking. The world is loud. From the moment most people wake up, their minds are no longer their own. Notifications begin, messages arrive, videos play, opinions enter, demands appear. Before they have even formed one original thought, they are already carrying the thoughts of everyone else. And then they wonder why they feel lost, why they feel exhausted, why they move through life without clarity. Because a distracted mind cannot create a meaningful life. This is one of the greatest powers hidden inside the 5 a.m. mindset. It gives you something rare, something becoming more valuable every year. Silence. And silence is not empty. Silence reveals. At 5 a.m., something unusual happens. The world slows down. There are fewer voices, less movement, less pressure, and for the first time, you meet someone you often avoid, yourself. Most people fear being alone with their thoughts. That is why they stay busy. Constant entertainment, constant scrolling, constant noise. Because silence asks difficult questions. What do you really want? Why are you unhappy? What excuses have you been protecting? What dreams have you abandoned? What life are you creating? These questions do not appear in noise. They appear in stillness. And that is why early mornings become powerful. Not because early hours contain magic, but because they contain space. Space to think. Space to reflect. Space to see your life clearly. Imagine standing in muddy water. If you keep stirring it, you cannot see the bottom. But if you stop, if you become still, everything settles. Clarity appears. Your mind works the same way. When life becomes endless reaction, your thoughts remain cloudy. But when you create quiet moments, truth begins to surface. Think about the greatest decisions in your life. They probably did not appear in chaos. They appeared during reflection, during walks, during quiet mornings, during moments when nobody was demanding your attention. Because clarity does not shout, it whispers, and only a quiet mind can hear it. There is a story repeated across every generation. Someone spends years climbing, working, pushing, achieving. Then one day they reach the top and realize they climbed the wrong mountain. Not because they lacked effort, but because they never stopped to think. Activity is not progress. Movement is not direction. You can be busy every day and still move nowhere. This is why deep thinking matters. The 5 a.m. mindset is not simply waking early. It is protecting the first hour of your day from distraction. No endless scrolling. No immediate reaction. No surrendering your attention. Instead, you sit, you breathe, you write, you think, you ask yourself difficult questions. What matters today? What am I avoiding? What kind of person am I becoming? Because the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your questions. A person who never reflects, repeats. A person who reflects, transforms. Consider a craftsman building something valuable. They measure carefully before cutting, because one wrong cut wastes time. Life is the same. Thinking is not delay. Thinking is preparation. Yet modern life rewards speed. Respond faster. Consume faster. Move faster. But wisdom rarely arrives quickly. Wisdom arrives quietly, and often before sunrise. Many people believe they need more time, but often they need more awareness. You already have hours in your day. The question is whether those hours belong to you, or whether they belong to distraction. There is incredible power in beginning your morning intentionally. Imagine waking at 5 a.m. No phone, no noise, just a notebook and your own thoughts. You write your goals. You examine your habits. You imagine your future. You become honest, not with the world, with yourself. And slowly, something changes. Your choices become more deliberate. Your emotions become calmer. Your direction becomes stronger. Because when your mind becomes clear, action becomes powerful. The world teaches people to fill every empty moment. But growth often requires emptiness. Because empty space allows new ideas to enter. A field must sometimes rest before it becomes fertile again. Your mind deserves the same. You do not need more information. You need more understanding. And understanding requires silence. So tomorrow morning, before the world enters your room, protect your first hour. Sit with your thoughts. Ask difficult questions. Write down what matters. Listen to what your mind reveals. Do not fear silence. Silence is not loneliness. Silence is where direction is born. Because the strongest people are not always the loudest. Often, they are the ones who learn to sit quietly, think deeply, and move with absolute clarity while everyone else remains distracted. And sometimes the decision that changes your entire life is waiting for you in a quiet room at 5 Life. Sat. Become comfortable with discomfort. Most people want change, but very few people want the feeling that comes with change. They want success without uncertainty, growth without struggle, confidence without failure, strength without pressure. They want the result, but not the process. And this is where most dreams quietly disappear. Because everything meaningful in life lives on the other side of discomfort. The 5 a.m. mindset teaches a lesson that reaches far beyond waking early. It teaches you to stop running from discomfort and start building a relationship with it. Think about what happens at 5 a.m. Your bed is warm. Your room is quiet. Your body wants rest. Nothing inside you is excited to leave comfort. But then you stand up anyway. Not because it feels good, because it matters. That small decision seems insignificant, but something powerful is happening beneath the surface. You are teaching yourself that comfort is not in charge. You are proving that difficult does not mean impossible. And over time, this changes the way you live, because life never asks permission before bringing difficulty. Challenges come, pressure comes, failure comes, loss comes. The question is never whether discomfort will arrive. The question is whether you know how to face it. Most people spend years designing their lives around avoiding discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid starting businesses. They avoid learning new skills. They avoid rejection. They avoid risk. And without realizing it, they slowly build a prison made of comfort. Safe, predictable, small, but growth does not happen there. A seed does not become a tree by staying unchanged. Steel does not become strong without heat. Muscles do not grow without resistance. And people do not discover their potential by remaining comfortable. There is a moment that exists in every transformation. A moment where the old version of you says, go back. And the future version whispers, keep going. That moment feels uncomfortable. That moment feels uncertain. That moment feels difficult. And that moment decides everything. Imagine someone training for their first marathon. The first few runs feel terrible. Their breathing becomes heavy. Their legs burn. Their mind begins creating excuses. Stop now. You can do this tomorrow. This isn't for you. But if they continue, day after day, their body adapts. Their mind adapts. What once felt impossible becomes normal. Life works the same way. Discomfort is often just unfamiliarity wearing a frightening mask. The first time you speak in public, your hands shake. The first time you wake at 5 a.m., your body resists. The first time you pursue something meaningful, fear appears. But repetition changes your relationship with discomfort. You stop seeing it as danger. You start seeing it as proof. Proof that you are growing. Proof that you are expanding. Proof that you are becoming someone new. This is why difficult mornings matter. Because every time you choose action over comfort, you strengthen a muscle inside yourself that cannot be measured. Mental endurance. You begin to understand something powerful. You do not need perfect conditions. You can perform while uncomfortable. You can move while uncertain. You can act before confidence arrives. And that realization changes your life. Because confidence is not built by avoiding hard things. Confidence is built by surviving hard things. People often think fearless people feel no discomfort. That is not true. Fearless people feel discomfort and continue. Strong people feel resistance and continue. Disciplined people feel tired and continue. The difference is not emotion. The difference is response. The world will constantly offer comfort. Stay where you are. Lower your standards. Delay your goals. Avoid the challenge. But ask yourself, what has comfort truly given you? Temporary relief or lasting growth? Many of the greatest moments in life begin with discomfort. Walking into a new opportunity, starting from zero, learning after failure, taking responsibility, changing your habits. Those moments feel uncomfortable because transformation always does. You are not failing because something feels difficult. Difficulty is often evidence that something meaningful is happening. At 5 a.m., you are not just waking up early. You are training your mind. You are practicing discomfort in small ways. So life's larger challenges do not break you. You are becoming someone who says, I do not need ease to move. I do not need perfect conditions. I do not need guarantees. I can act anyway, and eventually something incredible happens. What once felt uncomfortable becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. What once scared you becomes part of your identity. Not because life became easier, because you became stronger. So tomorrow morning, when comfort calls your name, do not treat discomfort like an enemy. Treat it like training. Stand up. Step into the cold air. Move forward. Stay with the challenge. Because your future self is not waiting inside comfort. Your future self is waiting just beyond the moment you usually quit. And every time you choose growth over ease, you meet that version of yourself a little sooner. Develop silent confidence through consistency. There is a type of confidence the world talks about. Loud confidence. The kind that announces itself. The kind that speaks before action. The kind that depends on attention, approval, and being seen. But there is another kind of confidence. Quieter, deeper, stronger. The kind that does not need to prove itself. The kind that enters the room without demanding recognition. The kind built in silence. And that confidence is born through consistency. The 5 a.m. mindset is not about becoming impressive overnight. It is about becoming undeniable over time. Because real confidence does not come from thinking highly of yourself. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every morning you say you will wake up, and you do. Every workout completed, every page written, every hour focused, every difficult choice repeated. You send yourself a message. I can trust myself. And trust is the foundation of confidence. Most people think confidence appears first, that one day they will feel ready, feel certain, feel powerful, and then they will act. But life teaches the opposite. Action comes first. Confidence follows. Think back to any time you learned something difficult. At the beginning, you doubted yourself. You felt awkward, uncertain, maybe even embarrassed. But you continued. And after enough repetition, something changed. You stopped asking, can I do this? Because your actions already answered. Consistency creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. And belief becomes confidence. This is why the early morning matters. Because at 5 a.m., there is nobody to impress. No applause, no audience, no external reward. Only you and your standards. That is where silent confidence begins. Imagine two people. One talks endlessly about what they plan to become. They speak about goals. They announce new habits. They chase motivation. But they rarely follow through. The second says very little. They wake up. They train. They work. They repeat. Weeks pass. Months pass. Eventually, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Because life rewards execution more than intention. Words create excitement. Consistency creates transformation. And the beautiful thing about consistency is that it compounds quietly. You do not feel powerful after one morning. You do not become confident after one disciplined week. It feels small, almost invisible. But every repeated action places another stone, another layer, another piece of identity, until one day you realize you are no longer trying to become disciplined. You are disciplined. You are no longer trying to become confident. You are confident. Because confidence built through consistency feels different. It does not disappear when life becomes difficult. It remains. Think about a mountain. A mountain never announces its strength. It simply stands. Storm after storm. Season after season. That is silent confidence. And you build it the same way. Not through intensity, through repetition. People often ask why some individuals remain calm under pressure. Why they seem steady while others panic. The answer is rarely talent. It is history. They have seen themselves show up too many times to doubt anymore. When challenges arrive, they remember, I have survived difficult mornings. I have kept commitments. I have continued before. I can continue again. That memory becomes power. And understand this, silent confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance needs attention. Confidence does not. Arrogance talks. Confidence acts. Arrogance wants to be seen. Confidence is focused on becoming. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You need enough evidence to believe in yourself. And evidence is created daily. Not dramatically, quietly. The world often celebrates big moments. The promotion, the success, the visible result. But few people see the hundreds of ordinary mornings that built them. The mornings where someone chose consistency. The mornings where nobody noticed. The mornings where quitting would have been easier. That is where confidence was built. Invisible to everyone except the person becoming stronger. There will be days when progress feels slow. Days when results feel absent. Days when doubt appears. Keep going. Do not underestimate the power of repeated effort. A river cuts through stone, not because of force, but because of consistency. Your habits are shaping you every day, whether you notice or not. So choose habits that build someone you respect. Wake up, do the work. Keep your word. Repeat. And one day you will walk differently. Speak differently. Think differently. Not because someone gave you confidence, because you earned it. So tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., when nobody is watching, show up, not for applause, not for validation, but for the quiet confidence that comes from becoming a person who does what they say. Because the strongest confidence in the world is not loud. It is the calm certainty that says, I have done difficult things before. I will do them again. And I no longer need permission to believe in myself. Transform your identity, not just your schedule. Most people think change begins with action. Wake up earlier, exercise more, work harder, read more books, create better habits. And while those things matter, they often miss something deeper. Because lasting transformation does not happen when you change your schedule. It happens when you change who you believe you are. This is where most people struggle. They focus on behavior, but ignore identity. They try to force routines onto an old self-image. They say, I'm trying to wake up early. I'm trying to be disciplined. I'm trying to become successful. But hidden inside those words is hesitation. Because when you say you are trying, your identity remains unchanged. Your mind still sees you as the old person. And people always return to who they believe they are. This is why the 5 a.m. mindset is so powerful. It is not training your alarm clock. It is training your identity. Every morning at 5 a.m. becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Every action says something. Every decision casts evidence. And eventually, those repeated choices rewrite your story. Think about someone who decides to become healthy. If they believe deep down, I am lazy, every workout feels like punishment. If they believe, I am someone who takes care of my body, the same workout becomes natural. The action looks identical. But identity changes everything, because identity determines what feels normal. And most people are not stuck because they lack ability. They are stuck because they remain loyal to an old version of themselves. The person who procrastinates. The person who quits, the person who waits, the person who always starts but never finishes. They repeat old patterns because they keep repeating old definitions. But there comes a moment where something must change. Not your circumstances, your story. You stop saying, I want discipline, and you begin saying, I am disciplined. You stop saying, I hope to become focused, and begin saying, I am someone who finishes. You stop waiting for evidence and start creating it. This is difficult because identity feels personal. It feels permanent. People carry labels for years. Maybe someone once told you that you were not talented, not capable, not consistent. Maybe you failed enough times that failure became part of how you describe yourself. And eventually those labels stopped feeling like opinions. They became truth. But understand this, your past behavior is not your identity. It is only your history. And history can change. There is a reason transformation often feels uncomfortable. Because growth requires releasing the familiar, even if the familiar has been limiting you. The old identity always fights back. It whispers, this is not who you are. You always quit. You never stay consistent. Go back to what is comfortable. But if you continue acting differently, something incredible begins to happen. Your mind updates. You begin collecting proof. You wake at 5 a.m. once, then again. You keep promises. You stay consistent. And eventually, your inner voice changes. Not because someone motivated you, because your actions became undeniable. There is a powerful difference between goals and identity. Goals are temporary. Identity remains. Someone with a goal runs once. Someone with a new identity becomes a runner. Someone with a goal wakes early for a week. Someone with a new identity becomes the person who owns their mornings. Goals can inspire. Identity sustains. Think of a sculptor. When creating a masterpiece, they do not add endlessly. They remove. They remove what does not belong until the shape appears. Transformation is similar. You are not becoming someone completely new. You are removing habits, beliefs, and excuses that no longer belong to the person you want to be. Every morning at 5 a.m. becomes another strike of the chisel, removing weakness, removing delay, removing old stories, until one day you recognize yourself differently. And that moment is powerful, because when identity changes, discipline feels lighter, consistency feels natural. Growth becomes part of who you are. You stop needing endless motivation. You stop negotiating. You simply act according to the person you have become. And people around you will notice. They will ask what changed. They will think it happened suddenly, but you will know it happened quietly, one morning at a time, one decision at a time, one kept promise at a time. So tomorrow morning, do not wake up and ask, what do I need to do today? Ask something deeper. Who am I becoming? Then act like that person before you feel like that person. Move like them. Think like them. Show up like them. Because identity is not discovered. Identity is built. And the person you want to become is not waiting years from now. That person is created by the choices you make before sunrise. Do not just change your schedule. Change your standards. Change your story. Change your identity, and your life will follow.